Chapter 2: The True Social Class. On one half of the mountain lay a residential area. If one were to follow the road with the iron fences and walk to the end of that small road, one would find Mo Fan's home. It was a small, 1.5-story house. The exterior wall had cracked paint, which revealed the red bricks underneath. There was junk in the houses surrounding it. The other houses in the neighborhood were all about 3.5 stories tall. After going through renovations and after being decorated, the houses looked more like actual homes. Whereas Mo Fan's house, furthest away in the corner, seemed even more like a wretched and old-fashioned house. "Brother Mo Fan, you're back. I brought you some good news." As Mo Fan arrived at the entrance to his home, a monkey-like youth sprung out, his face filled with joy. This monkey was Jong Hu, one of the children of the families that lived near this block. One could say that he grew up with Mo Fan. "What's the good news?" Mo Fan asked. "Little princess is back. I saw her when I was by the entrance to the mansion." "Wow, you have no idea how much prettier little princess has gotten. She's just like a little angel," Jong Hu said with some excitement. Mo Fan glanced at the mansion across the street. The mansion was exquisite to the point where it caused everyone to feel envious. Every inch of the flowers, plants, and trees had been through careful enhancement, causing it to reach the level of a real garden park. However, the beautiful mansion's garden was currently being surrounded by tall iron fences. When he reminisced back to his childhood, the iron fences were not there. He had regularly brought along the kids from this street to the mansion's garden to play. At the highest location of the residency, there existed many extremely exquisite European-style villas. In the eyes of these children, they looked like a castle from a fairy tale, and within the castle was indeed a princess so beautiful that made them forget to breathe. She was at a similar age to them, and Mo Fan would frequently sneak the princess out to play with them. He couldn't remember when the iron fences appeared around the residency, and the adults in the neighborhood no longer allowed their children to go into the mansion. In addition, the make-believe princess had turned into a real princess in the castle. Following the passage of age, they became more and more distant, and the number of times they met became less and less. "Did you know? I heard that little princess is currently the ace of the renowned Imperial Magic School. Her innate talent toward ice elements is simply incomparable with her peers. She is able to utilize ice magic at the tender age of 15, Jong Hu said in mystery. Mo Fan was astonished. If Jong Hu were to tell him that the little princess received a medal in the Olympics, then he probably wouldn't feel anything. However, if it was about becoming an ice element mage, then that was something completely different. Most people had to wait until they turned 16, in their first year of high school, to receive awakening before obtaining their first elemental magic. After obtaining that, it didn't mean you had become a real mage yet. You had to go through a long process of training, obtaining a magic book, and diligently practicing before being able to release magic. Little Princess sure was impressive. She became a real magician at the age of 15. Could it be that she is the so-called child prodigy? The child prodigy of the magic world. Brother Mo Fan, I feel sorry for you. If only you put in more effort to take away the naive and innocent little princess back when we were younger. Now she's talented and good-looking, tisk tisk tisk. It sure makes us quite envious, Jong Hu said as he raised his eyebrow. That was when we were young. Stop talking about useless things, Mo Fan said cluelessly. As Mo Jiaxing heard the two youths talk about this, he coughed and dragged Mo Fan back home. As he just returned back home, Mo Jiaxing said, "I'm going out for a bit. Xin Xia is living with your aunt. She's probably not coming home." "All right, I understand." After Mo Jiaxing left in a haste, Mo Fan walked around his house and realized his home hadn't changed at all. Although the world had changed, the bitterness of being poor hadn't changed. How come my family didn't trade with the family with the mansion? Really, God, you went through all that trouble to turn science into magic, but you couldn't do something as small as changing this? The only thing he rejoiced over was the fact that his own appearance did not change. It was still as outstanding and elegant as before. Sitting at home was boring. There was nothing to do. Mo Fan was so bored that he decided to go out and take a stroll. He also wanted to see what else had changed. As he followed the mossy road that no one walked on, he saw his father's pickup truck as he was about to meet the main street. His old man was a chauffeur. He used to drive the master of that mansion. However, he didn't know how his father ended up being transferred into the logistics section. There was a day where he went to purchase things on behalf of the mansion, and ever since then, The family's condition had gradually gotten worse. Jiaxing, this request of yours is a bit rude, isn't it? You should know that I treated your family quite well in the past. Despite the kid from your family committing such a deed, I still left some work for you to do. If it was someone else's family, I'd just have had them pack up and leave immediately. A middle-aged man's tone slowly sounded. Brother Mu, just look at this as the last time I request help from you. If I were to try and buy our way into Tianlan Magic High, then that'd be too expensive. You should already know of the situation of my family. We really can't afford it, Mo Jiaxing said, slowly and humbly. Why are you doing this for your failure of a son? He himself doesn't have the qualifications to pass the exams to enter the Magic High, so you might as well let fate run its course. He's almost 16. Besides, even if I were to help you get your son into Magic High, just based on his character, he will definitely slack and not become a genuine magician. Becoming a magician is not that easy. Not only do you require talent and hard work, but those magic books, magical devices, and magical tools are not something your family can afford. Without these things to support him, he can't even become a primary-level magician. The man called Mu, he said with a sincere tone, but Mo Fan could hear a sliver of arrogance in it. This time, he genuinely wants to study. Brother Mu, if you help me out this time, then I will move far away from Master Mu per his demand. This way, we would also make Master Mu feel at ease, and I will also guarantee that my little brat will certainly not interact with Lady Mu Zushui, Mo Jiaxing's voice sounded. Oh, in that case, I'd have to consider it. As soon as he heard they were willing to move away, this man called Mu, he seemed to have more interest in the discussion. A youth leaned onto a wall as he listened to the conversation. His heart felt incredibly complicated. He thought that when the world changed, the many terrible connections he had would also have changed. However, it seemed like nothing had changed. Like a ruler, the rich people of the Mu mansion were at the very top, whereas the very bottom was this father who had to go through hard work and needed help from other people. This Mu, he was the chairman of Tianlan Magic High, and the truth was that he only needed to say a single word and it'd allow Mo Fan to enter Tianlan Magic High. However, after hearing his own father, Mo Jiaxing, being willing to move away, Mu, he quickly agreed with a heavy sigh. At the end of the conversation, his father was incessantly thanking Mu. While Mu got into his luxurious car and left, he left behind the seemingly old pickup truck with dust, and his seemingly as dusty and old father, Mo Jiaxing. How is this a dream? This cruelty was exactly the same as his previous reality. The Mo Fan, who was leaning onto the wall with a serious look, he was very aware of the fact that his own family's condition had not changed at all. Their low status had also not changed at all. In olden times, the older family in society had power and status. There was no difference at all in the modern world. Some families have more heritage, longer history, and their family still occupies positions and identities with power. Even if the common people were no longer called servants to the rich, they were now called workers. And although they no longer needed to kneel and salute, the fates of these common people was still below those of the rich, and their fates could be manipulated easily at the fingertips of these rich people. Mo Fan himself was born into a family at the very bottom, and they were being completely domesticated by a wealthy family called Mu. Within his heart, it felt like there was something violently surging. He grasped his fist tighter and repeatedly smashed it against the azure-colored wall. Your Mu family took advantage of me when I was young, and when I was lying down. When I am powerful, I will definitely return the favor tenfold. No, 100-fold. Chapter 3 Opening Ceremony. After Mo Fan returned home, all he could think of were the words Mu had said. Those words appeared to be earnest and sincere. However, the disdain he had for the Mo family, and toward himself, was very evident. Can't even become a primary-level magician? Your father, will make you eat those words. Mo Fan admitted there was a period of time where he and the little princess, Mu Ningzhu, were very close to each other. However, the young him did not know what kind of disaster this would bring to his poverty-struck family. From that day on, Mo Fan finally realized that a social class difference existed. Mo Fan, I have solved your problem. I gave a call to an old friend of mine, and it turns out he's doing really well now. He is the chairman of Tianlan Magic High. He said if you can diligently cultivate magic, then he could allow you to enter Tianlan Magic High and let you awaken your elemental magic. This kind of opportunity only comes once in a lifetime, so you really need to do your best this time, alright? The yellow-faced Mo Jiaxing entered the home with a smile, as he patted Mo Fan on his shoulders. Mo Fan looked at his father's joyous smile. If he was his normal self, he would also be happy and celebrate this by drinking a cup of white wine with his father. However, how could he still believe in his father's honest and bright laugh after knowing the truth? What made Mo Fan have even less faith in his respectable father was that no one else respected him in their society. Really? That's really good. That's definitely my dad. He fixes whatever issues come our way. Ha ha! At last, Mo Fan finally wore a smiling face, as he reached his arms around his father's shoulders. Of course. Who do you think your father is? Mo Jiaxing thought this kid's bullshit was really well done, so the smile on his face grew increasingly wider. The father and son still had a few cups left. While they were drinking, Mo Jiaxing tactfully said, Mo Fan, you should live in the dorms. I'm planning on renting out the house so we can get a bit more money for ourselves. Mo Fan already knew that this house had basically been sold to Mu He. This lousy house holds no value in itself, however, the land is inside the city area so its price was very high. Alright, I'll do that. I don't come back very often anyway. It's just, what about Xin Sha? Mo Fan said as he pretended to not know the truth. Xin Sha is staying with your aunt. To be honest, it's not easy for two men like us to take care of Xin Sha. That girl is very sensible, so there's no need for us to worry about her, Mo Jiaxing said. In that case, I understand. Make sure you come and visit me often in school, Mo Fan said. I will. Alright, I'm tired. I'll head off to sleep first. You should go to school tomorrow. Mo Jiaxing finished the last cup of white wine and stood up swaying. Mo Fan saw him turn around. Seeing his back made him suddenly remember the article written by Zhu Ziqing. I will live in school, and Xin Sha will stay with our aunt. We have found a place, but where is this man going to live? Ultimately, Mo Fan didn't bring up the issue. In fact, Mo Jiaxing was willing to make these sacrifices because he believed it was the duty and honor of a father. He wanted to let his son know that he should study in peace, and that he would help him solve any issues that he couldn't solve by himself. Besides, Mo Fan also understood that if he were to bring the issue up, it would only make Mo Jiaxing feel sorrow and shame. After all, what man doesn't want to be an awesome father who can fix everything for his son? Mo Fan couldn't bring it up. Other people might disrespect his father, but he wouldn't. This broken house. So what if we don't live here? At most in 3 years, after I have achieved a great level in magic studies, I will have anything I want. In this society, magic is respect. I will become an indomitable master magician. The 2 months of summer break went past really quickly. Mo Fan felt as though he had been dropped into a sea of books. There were all sorts of books in Tianlan Magic High. Furthermore, the books concerning magic were just like science books, complicated, numerous, and offering a genuine significance to what knowledge they could offer. However, Mo Fan had reaped a great harvest. At the very least, he was no longer an illiterate. Oh, magic illiterate. Mo Fan had basically grasped all the knowledge from the 9 years of compulsory magic education. His hidden potential was unleashed as he was pushed to the very depth of his desperation. The school started on the 1st of September. The opening day held great importance for all the magic students. This was due to taking part in the most important step for all students entering the world of magicians. They would determine what kind of elemental magician each would become. Awakening, just as the name sounds, involved awakening the hidden powers within your body. Little brat, I wish you luck. Best you awaken the fire element. That will allow you to hold an advantage over other magic students. Although the other elements are quite alright, among the primary level magicians, the fire element is the best when it comes to battle prowess. Oh, rock element isn't bad either, nor is wind element, the chief supervisor of the library, Old Man Gu, said. Mo Fan replied in agreement without understanding him. When this old man started talking, he just didn't stop. The truth was, Mo Fan was unable to sleep last night. To him, the awakening today wasn't just a change of fate for him, but also an unprecedented attempt. In his original world, things like magic simply did not exist. However, today he was finally able to wholeheartedly grasp this experience. His little heart was leaping and frisking about. Mo Fan was placed in Class 8, with his student number being 48. There was nothing he could have done about it. He practically entered the school from the back door. The higher up the student number, the higher the score they received during the magic middle school exams. It was said that when a person of higher number awakened and received an element, their speed in cultivating the magic was much faster compared to a regular person. This was because their understanding toward magic was much better, thus, cultivating it was also much easier for them. As luck would have it, the number 1 in Class 8 just happened to be Mo Fan's old classmate, Mu Bai. Mu Bai was actually from the Mu family. It seemed that he was not from the main family, though. The reason as to why Mu Bai always looked down on Mo Fan was, naturally, because of his status within the Mu mansion. He was considered as a little young master, whereas Mo Fan was the son of a servant, thus also a servant. Unfortunately for this lad, he's just a child of the branch. He was nowhere near a princess like Mu Ningzhu. Mu Bai had used every tactic to court Mu Ningzhu, however, she only ignored him. Mu Bai's grades in magic were really good. Within the Mu family, he was one of those who received extra attention. It was said that if he awakened the element of the Mu family, the ice element, his future cultivation speed would increase several times. After all, the Mu family had many resources they could offer. The other families simply couldn't compare with what the Mu family could provide to a child from a branch of the family. Class, congratulations on admittance. Presumably, many of you have been waiting for the emotional time today, but before that, there are many things I need to say to everyone. On the Great Magic Grounds, all of the 1,500 new students were divided into 20 classes, forming into squads, as they stood neatly next to each other. They looked magnificent. Students, do you know what it means to become a mage? No matter what kind of mage you turn out to be, do not forget that we magicians exist to further allow humanity to grow. We protect the most important mission of humanity. Do not forget that outside of this safe city, there are countless magical beasts watching us like a tiger watches his prey. As the headmaster's speech came to an end, he finally came to the part everyone was looking forward to most. Alright, you will begin the awakening ceremony today. I hope you will become rising stars in the future world of magic. As the old headmaster's words were said, the students on the grounds could no longer hold back the joy in their hearts. Who doesn't want to wield flaming fires that brim with the power to destroy your enemies? Who doesn't want to wield ice and freeze the world over? Who doesn't want to dominate and gallop across the world with arrogance? Who doesn't want to wield the power of earth and resist invaders? Within innumerable stories, videos, and movies, there are many heroes who are worshipped. Furthermore, this motivates these students to become a certain kind of magician. Today is their first step into that journey to become a mage who roams the territories of the magical beasts outside of the city, or to rule the city of magic with their paramount powers.